Maybe that's why so many people are sold on the power.
Later this year, look for our brand new channel lineup. Thank you for choosing Comcast, everything you connect with.
So you're all set to order a great new movie on Comcast Home Theater pay-per-view. Well, here's two things to remember. One, you've got to have an addressable converter box. And two, your home phone number has to be listed in our files. So call us and make sure we have your correct home phone number. Then you're all set to order pay-per-view. You've got hit movies and big events that you can order toll-free. Just check out the schedule on the Comcast Home Theater Previews channel. Comcast Home Theater pay-per-view. You've got it because you've got Comcast.
Unexpected weather can really mess up your day, and preparing people for it is our business. Business is good.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
This edition of Storm Watch brought to you by Home Depot. Flood warnings continue in Texas. Let me give you a list of some of the counties here. Edwards, Riel, Kerr, Kinney, Uvalde, as well as Comal, Hayes, Caldwell, and Guadalupe, just outside of San Antonio, where we've seen 4 to 8 inches of rain overnight from erstwhile Tropical Storm Charlie. But of course, the big story is Hurricane Bonnie, so let's just show you that and where we think it may be headed. And your tropical update begins with a look at our satellite picture. And there you can see Bonnie right in the center of your screen, and it's moving very little right now as it is feeling a weak trough towards its north right now. There's a little trough in this area right in through here. So that has slowed the northwest and west-northwesterly movement considerably. So this is kind of reacting now to this very weak trough up to the north. So there's been very little movement, but just a little drift off towards the northwest. So here you can see Bonnie here. What was once Charlie has moved into Texas, and like tropical systems normally do during the late night and early morning hours, there's a flare-up of activity right near the center of old circulation there. And that's what's happening now from just west of San Antonio over towards Del Rio. It's raining at the rate of 2 to 3 inches per hour. Tropical wave in the Gulf, see a little flare up there. And this tropical wave has low pressure with it way down to the south, and the hurricane hunters will be investigating this today. Now, for the particulars on Bonnie, the 8 a.m. advisory, 24-0 north, 71.7 west, and that is very little change from the previous advisory at 5 a.m. there. Wind still 105. Movement nearly stationary, pressure 959 millibars. There is a hurricane hunter going into the storm right now, and that will pass along more information to us. Looking at the winds, 105 miles an hour, this makes it a strong Category 2 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. And you say, what's that? Well, here's the definition for you for a Category 2, what a Category 2 storm can do. Some roofing material, door and window damage to buildings, considerable damage to vegetation, mobile homes and piers, and coastal and low-lying escape routes flood 2 to 4 hours before the arrival of the center of the storm. And small craft in unprotected anchorages break their moorings. So that's what this storm is capable of right now. And it is forecast to intensify, and it is forecast to move more towards the northwest with time. So it is a threat to the southeast coast of the United States. Closest to the storm right now, the Bahamas. Hurricane warnings and hurricane watches have been issued here. Freeport, Nassau under the hurricane watches. Farther south, we have the hurricane warnings. And on the south side of the storm, we still have tropical storm warnings for the southeastern Bahamas. Did get some limited data out of the Bahamas this morning, and the most significant winds I could see were running anywhere from 10 to 30 miles an hour, but that off the outer edge of the storm and well away from the strongest winds. And the Bahamas themselves are deflecting the swells coming from our storm, but we do have heavy surf advisories being issued for the coast of Florida. And it looks like the worst will come in tonight and tomorrow in terms of coastal flooding and also in terms of large swells. So we'll be looking at that problem developing over the southeast coast the next couple of days. There you can see our center, the eye of the storm there. Notice very little movement here, and the hurricane hunters are flying into this, and they'll give us the latest on that. But right here, this is the central dense overcast, and this is where you normally find your tropical storm force or greater winds in here. And notice that is mainly away from these islands that I was checking on the data, but you can see the outer bands coming through, so there's definitely potential for tropical storm force winds and squalls here. Now, farther west, here's what's left of Charlie blowing up just to the north of Eagle Pass here. There's the old circulation center. San Antonio west, still raining at the rate of 2 to 3 inches per hour. Look at the Doppler radars here, estimates of precipitation. Getting up in the 5-6 inch category. Hondo, Texas came in with over 8 inches of rain the past 24 hours. So flooding a big problem here. Flood watches have been issued. Now behind Bonnie, there is another tropical wave that is being investigated by the hurricane hunters. And we'll know more on this, but this could be a threat to the eastern Caribbean islands with heavy showers and some gusty winds. So this will be monitored very closely, and we'll give you the latest on that. Stay tuned. Weather Center has more on Hurricane Bonnie and its possible effects on the east coast of the U.S.
Every day is new. We tell you about the weather right now. How will it affect where you're headed? What about your plans? People count on us to get them through the day. I love that.
It's program was sponsored by the Home Depot.
Home Depot is like 5 stores in one.
Well, Home Depot's ideal really is to make sure the customer gets what they need.
This is not a little hardware store. They only have 5 of one type of thing. We have 100 of one type of thing.
We're very proud of the selection we can offer people.
And thanks for joining us. Mark Mancuso with you for Storm Watch. And we continue to have problems with storms rolling across the northern plains and towards the Great Lakes. The latest severe thunderstorm warning coming out of the National Weather Service in Marquette, Michigan. In western upper Michigan, severe storms are erupting. We'll be checking that out on radars today throughout the afternoon hours. And the floods continue in Texas. Flood warnings now. Edwards, Riel, Kerr, Kinney, and Uvalde counties as the remnants of erstwhile tropical storm Charlie continue to flood that area. Let's talk more about Bonnie, though. It's on everybody's minds these days. And as we take a look at Bonnie, there it is, sitting and spinning just off to the east of the Bahamas. Latest advisory from the Hurricane Center has a center of circulation at 24.2 north, 71.6 west, and just about stationary is the movement here. Winds 115 miles an hour. This makes it a Category 3 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, and that means this storm is capable of quite a bit of damage if it does come in contact with any land areas or any type of structures. Well, the pressure continues to drop. The environment has been almost ideal for further strengthening. That's just what has happened. Hurricane warnings and hurricane watches out for the central and northern Bahamas. Freeport, Nassau, hurricane watches. We do not have any type of watches or warnings on the U.S. coast. And as we take you to the southern Bahamas, we have tropical storm warnings still in effect here. The circulation around the bottom side of our hurricane. On the U.S. coast, we are looking at heavy surf advisories. They've been issued on the Florida coast. It looks like the surf will continue to deteriorate as we head through the day and overnight tonight. These may be extended up the coast with time. Presently, the Bahamas shielding the Florida coast from the swells from our storm here, but eventually, as the storm moves northward, really start to get the swells to propagate westward and northward. As you can see on the satellite picture, here is Florida. Not much happening in Florida. Why? Well, the hurricane, there's a lot of intense lifting here, and with all this lifting, you have to have some sort of sinking motion. So here is the subsidence zone. So we're drying you out in South Florida. Pretty much a dry day here today, and for the northwestern Bahamas, weather's beautiful. But as we head east, well, here's where you have your problems. And right here is what we call the central dense overcast with the storm. And this is where you find your sustained tropical storm force winds and then your hurricane force winds closer to the center. Did check on a ship report earlier this morning. There is a ship right here just off the central dense overcast reporting southeast winds of about 55 to 60 miles an hour. So that was way out here, so right near the center. That's where we have those winds, 115 miles an hour sustained. And you can see the eyes just kind of wobbling about, maybe showing a slow drift towards the north. And the question is, well, why has the storm stopped? Well, it does appear that it's been a weak trough just to the north of the storm. The storm's been kind of like feeling it, so it has come to a screeching halt. But once that weak trough moves away, we are expecting a northwesterly motion to resume and eventually a little bit more of a north-northwesterly movement. But that could change as the steering currents are very weak. So that's why we want you to keep up to date with this. And you have to be on the alert on the southeast coast of the U.S. all the way from Florida up through the outer banks of North Carolina. Now to the west in Texas, problems again with the remnants of Charlie. See it spinning here around Del Rio. Very heavy rains of 5, 6, 7 inches of rain, flood watches and flood warnings. And the next in a series of tropical waves, still disorganized. Hurricane hunters did not find anything serious yet.
Preparations are underway in Florida and the Carolinas for Hurricane Bonnie. Get the latest on the storm's progress and strength coming up on Weather Center after your local forecast.
It's only a little scratch.
Here a scratch, there a scratch, everywhere a scratch. And they're all an eyesore. What you need is GS27 Scratch Remover. It's new from Duralube. GS27 gets rid of those surface scratches and paint swirls quickly and easily. Simply rub it into the scratch, then polish to a beautiful finish. The scratch is gone. GS27 is not an abrasive, and it works wonders on any color. Would you do this to a brand new car? Ouch! But GS27 removes that ugly scratch quickly and easily. It'll even remove paint scrapes and unsightly rust. GS27 is only $14.95, but order now and get a second tube for only $5. That's two for just $19.95. Order now.
Call 1-800-799-6226 or send check or money order for $14.95 for one or $19.95 for two plus $5.95 shipping to GS27, 1000 Apex Street, Department GS, Nashville, Tennessee.
This is one of those new Volvos with all-wheel drive, right?
Yes. It's our newest safety feature, designed to help keep you out of an accident.
So how come you don't put it on all your cars?
All our cars.
Like Subaru does.
Subaru.
Every Subaru we make comes with the safety of all-wheel drive. Every wagon, every coupe.
I get to watch the wind for a living.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
We've got some potentially severe weather in the upper Midwest and more flooding in Texas from the remnants of Charlie. But we're going to take a look at Hurricane Bonnie on the Tropical Update. Let's take a look at the latest coordinates, and we have it as of late this morning or going on into early afternoon. In fact, right now, since it is so close to land, the updates are coming in every 3 hours. So we've got an update for you as of 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The center of Bonnie being 190 miles east-northeast of San Salvador Island in the central Bahamas. Winds 115 miles an hour, nearly stationary. So we really don't see enough of a significant movement to give it any kind of a movement right now. And estimated pressure is 957 millibars. That is estimated because of the fact that the airplanes haven't been in there for enough hours now to know exactly what it is, but it's been running pretty close to that, if not 959. So it's just about at its peak intensity right now that we've seen this whole track, and we can see a little bit of a turn to the right there, but don't get fooled yet. We need to see it kind of tack another course after the stationary to get a better idea of which direction it's heading in. Now, on the Saffir-Simpson scale, over 111 miles an hour is an extensive damage and called a significant or major hurricane, Category 3 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. So we haven't had too many storms this season, but we've got a major one in the Atlantic right now. We have hurricane warnings issued in the southern Bahamas and also hurricane watches in some of the Bahama Islands, especially to the central and northern parts of the Bahamas. Now, Bonnie is certainly a very impressive-looking storm. We've got Hispaniola and then Cuba, and you could see north of the islands, the center, with an eye that's not always clearly visible, but the organization of the storm is still very good. We don't see any significant shear right now. Shear would be skewing the clouds off in one direction. We don't see that happening to any great extent. But these are the Bahama Islands with partly sunny skies right now, the northern Bahamas. So if it resumes a west-northwest course, it could be threatening the northern Bahamas with hurricane conditions. We kind of pan out a little bit and see where this is on planet Earth. We see Florida having a beautiful day, as you often get in the proximity of a hurricane, but several hundred miles away, the air is descending and makes it less likely for thunder showers. But we could see that eye may be getting drawn a little bit toward the north and west, although there's not a significant enough movement to really nail it down right now. The upper levels are still cold, but maybe not quite as cold and organized as they were a little while ago, so that's why we don't expect that it's more than 115 miles an hour right now. But what we have is a movement that's a little bit indeterminate right now. We have to look at computer models which take it anywhere from a west-northwest course to going out to sea. So that's why we're really sort of reserving our commitment on this right now. You're just going to have to stay tuned to the Weather Channel, and we'll see what future corrections and future course forecasts are as we go on through the day and on into tomorrow, as this dangerous storm could even head toward the landmass of the United States. Folks should be ready for it anyway, from the Bahamas through Florida all the way to the Outer Banks and maybe even New England if it decides to go in that direction. Another system that could be developing into a significant storm is moving into the Windward Islands. This may even gain organization as it gets into the Caribbean Sea, so be on the lookout for that, as we're not too concerned in the eastern Atlantic, except another system could possibly getting some organization west of Africa. More on Weather Center coming up next.
Preparations are underway in Florida and the Carolinas for Hurricane Bonnie. Get the latest on the storm's progress and strength coming up on Weather Center after your local forecast.
Trimmer users, if you're tired of handheld trimmers that strain your arms and back and are so frustrating to use, here's great news about the original revolutionary DR trimmer on wheels. Now there's an all-new smaller DR that's perfect for every homeowner.
You might want to think twice. Comcast, everything you connect with.
Now your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
On the storm watch, you've seen thunderstorms and a current tornado warning into portions of Wisconsin, and rainfall continuing as the remnants of Charlie continue to bring rain into the southwest of Texas. But the big story is still Bonnie, and which way Bonnie will go over the next couple of days. That is the focus of the tropical update. And looking at where Bonnie is right now, Bonnie's latest coordinates, 24.4 north, 71.8 west, or 180 miles east-northeast of San Salvador Island. Movement is towards the northwest now at 5 miles per hour, and the storm had been stationary for a while, but moving a little slowly, but still moving. Winds at 115 miles per hour. On the Stafford-Simpson scale, we see Bonnie at 115 puts it in a Category 3, hurricane that could cause extensive damage. So a very strong and a large storm over the Atlantic. Hurricane warnings and advisories, warnings for the central Bahamas now, and watches for the northwestern Bahamas, and even some high surf warnings for Jupiter Inlet in Florida through Brunswick, Georgia. Looking at the storm on the satellite, you can see this is a very large, impressive storm moving towards the west-northwest rather slowly. Not a well-defined eye, but a small eye that we've seen there off and on, and large bands of clouds and showers out from the storm into portions of the Caribbean. You can see on the infrared shot the intensity of this storm and a little bit of an eye being made out there. Bonnie's track is now towards the west-northwest, but still the storm could move towards the north or back out into the Atlantic, so it's still hard to tell where it will go over the next couple of days, and it's being watched by the Hurricane Center in watching its track. Back behind Bonnie, another disturbance into the Atlantic could mean something else later by the end of the weekend into the next weekend, and we're seeing short waves coming off the coast of Africa into the eastern Atlantic, so things have heated up after a very quiet start to your hurricane season. And another hurricane in the Pacific, this is Howard, as of 2 p.m. Pacific time, 15.4 north, 112.2 west, or 530 miles southwest of Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. A stronger storm than Bonnie, winds at 145 miles per hour, and moving a little faster too, moving towards the west-northwest at 14 miles per hour. But taking that west-northwest track will take it away from the mainland of Central America and Mexico, and take it into the Pacific towards colder waters. So if it does that, we will see this storm die out into most likely thunderstorms over the next few days. Now looking back at the mainland, showers and thunderstorms into Texas and into portions of Minnesota and Wisconsin. And along our frontal boundary, we could see some severe thunderstorms tonight, and we already have a reported tornado into eastern Wisconsin. That area is under a tornado watch until 9 p.m. Central Time, including Green Bay and Milwaukee. And here's our line of thunderstorms with a reported tornado near the counties of Winnebago and also for Calumet counties. Tornado warnings for these counties until 5:15 Central Time. We're seeing a band of showers and thunderstorms with that system pushing towards the east, towards Lake Michigan. Into Texas, dry around Del Rio right now, but showers continuing north and west of the city. A few sprinkles around San Antonio. Flood watches and warnings continue for the saturated ground in the western portion of the Lone Star State. And into the Pacific Northwest, we've seen light showers around Spokane and towards Coeur d'Alene in northern Idaho. Very slow-moving and repetitive showers could mean some soggy ground there and upwards to an inch or so of rain into that region. Stay tuned. Weather Center's coming up.
The southeast coast will soon start to see the effects of Hurricane Bonnie. Find out what Bonnie is up to and where it's headed, plus your weather just ahead on Weather Center.
Property owners, if weeds and brush are taking over your land, at last there is a